The First World War, 1914 to 1918, is often remembered for its trenches, machine guns and artillery bombardments, but what happened to the cavalry, long a dominant force in European armies? The dramatic transformation of warfare led many to question whether cavalry had any role in a conflict dominated by industrialized weaponry. Examining the use and evolution of cavalry reveals both its limitations and surprising adaptability. The role of cavalry before World War I. Cavalry had traditionally served as shock troops capable of charging enemy lines, reconnaissance units scouting enemy positions and reporting back, flanking forces, exploiting weaknesses in enemy formations, pursuit and exploitation, chasing retreating enemies to maximize battlefield gains. European armies entered World War I with large cavalry divisions, trained for decisive charges and rapid maneuvers reminiscent of Napoleonic warfare. The reality of trench warfare. The emergence of trenches, barbed wire, machine guns and rapid-firing artillery drastically reduced the effectiveness of traditional cavalry. Machine guns and artillery could mow down charging horsemen with devastating efficiency. Trenches and barbed wire created obstacles impassable to mounted units. Static fronts meant there was little room for rapid cavalry maneuvers. Cavalry units often found themselves sitting idle or repurposed for infantry or logistical support, leading many to conclude that cavalry had become obsolete. Cavalry in different theaters. While cavalry was largely ineffective on the Western Front, it saw more success in other theaters. 1. Eastern Front. The Eastern Front was more fluid with longer front lines and less entrenched positions. Cavalry units were used effectively for reconnaissance, raiding and exploiting breakthroughs. The Russian cavalry and German mounted units conducted raids behind enemy lines, demonstrating their value in open warfare. 2. Middle East and Africa. In the Gallipoli campaign, Sinai and Palestine, cavalry units were more mobile. The British Indian Cavalry and Australian Light Horse executed effective charges against Ottoman positions, often in desert terrain unsuitable for tanks or heavy artillery. Adaptation of cavalry. Faced with modern weapons, cavalry units adapted in several ways. Dismounted fighting. Cavalrymen often fought on foot, effectively acting as light infantry. Mounted reconnaissance. Horses were still useful for rapid scouting and communication. Supporting artillery and logistics. Cavalry transported supplies and messages across difficult terrain. Shock effect in open terrain. In regions without trenches, cavalry could still charge and break enemy formations. Symbolic and psychological role. Cavalry also retained a psychological and cultural significance. Cavalry charges were used to boost morale or create dramatic battlefield effects. Mounted units maintained traditions and esprit de corps, which contributed to army cohesion. They symbolized national pride and military heritage, even as their battlefield role diminished. The legacy of cavalry. By the end of World War I, cavalry had lost its dominant offensive role, replaced by tanks, motorized infantry and artillery. Horses remained important for logistics, communication and limited mobile warfare. Many lessons from World War I led to the mechanization of cavalry units in World War II, giving rise to armored divisions. Cavalry was not entirely useless, but its traditional functions had largely disappeared in the face of industrialized warfare. Its decline was a symbol of the shift from 19th-century warfare to modern combat. Cavalry in World War I was neither entirely useless nor fully effective. On the Western Front, it struggled against machine guns, trenches and artillery. Yet in more open or mobile theaters, cavalry units still played valuable roles in reconnaissance, flanking, and exploitation. The war demonstrated that technology had transformed the battlefield, and armies had to adapt quickly. The decline of cavalry highlighted the rise of mechanized warfare, signaling the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in military history.